actually am going to share with you today in this episode my budget for 2025. And for those of you that watched my episode on building a budget, if not, you can go to my playlist and watch it. I mentioned that it usually takes me 3 to 4 months to do my budget. So on an Excel document, I start thinking about my money, right? I start thinking, how much do I have coming in? How much do I have going out? If I get a bonus, can I apply that here? Great. If not, well, what will that look like, right? So as you're creating your spreadsheet, you save it on your computer and put down a percent of completion. Just make it up, right? If you feel like you're 10% complete, 50% complete, 70% complete, 80% complete, 90, by the time you get to January 1st, you should be 100% complete, and then you release your budget. Once you release your budget, then you start subtracting the numbers out of the budget. Remember, the budget nets to zero. So as you take money away, there's a number at the bottom, and it will go to a red. It'll change. It'll be like, oh, where did I put that money? Oh, I'm going to put it here. Did it go to pay off my credit card? Did it pay for expenses? So you're moving the money around and pre-spending it in advance by building the budget. And then as the year goes on, you spend from the budget and it nets to zero. So you can never go wrong. Okay. So, as I mentioned earlier this week, I wanted to share with you some easy math here. And I tried to say that I got a little confused on my Wednesday episode, I think, where I said it was easy to figure out, but actually that was not easy to figure out, remember, because we had $75,000 as the after-tax money in my example of somebody making $100,000. So I got a little confused because that was not easy. You do have to take that number and then divide it by the $75,000 to get the percent. But I'm going to give you an easy example here of my 2024 budget, because it just so happens that I make about $124,000 of income, and the taxes is about $24,000, which gives me open to buy after tax $100,000. So then the numbers are pretty easy in terms of figuring out taxes, expenses, your life category, fun, and savings and investing. Now, it's also important to note right now that, remember, the categories I had before, for traditionally speaking, things like housing, transportation, life, debt repayment, and savings and investing. Well, I don't have any debt, right? So if you have no debt, no sense in making a category for it. So don't go out and run up your credit card debt, just have a category. Okay, that was supposed to be funny. Anyway, so you got to look at your budget and say, which categories do I really need? I may not need them. Or could we lump some of these expenses into this category, etc.? And that's what I have for you today, is going through my 2024, even though we're wrapping up 2024. And most importantly, I want to give you my 2025 numbers as well, which I kind of alluded to in previous episodes. So let's go ahead and get started with 2024. The first thing I want to mention is you guys have to remember I paid off this condo, right? So my housing budget, or category I should say, is still there because I have association fees, but it's a lot lower than it would be if I didn't have the condo paid off. Also, know that I don't have a car payment. Some of you may know I bought my car outright last year. It's a Mazda CX-5. So I paid cash. Yes, I have to set aside money for a future car in about 10 years, but anyway, it's not part of my operating budget other than gas and maintenance and repairs, I should say, for my car. So again, if we just look at the numbers, 124,000 minus 24,000 in tax approximately, we have our $100,000 of after tax. And these are my numbers. My expenses, and this includes life, not fun, I'll get to that in a minute, but expenses, meaning life is only 23%, which is $23,000. So let me just pause right there. I know I've said this before, but do you guys understand that most people that make $125,000 have expenses of probably $50,000 to $60,000 to $70,000? So as you move forward in your life and you go and you get older, which we know we're going to do, we don't get younger. We get older, hopefully wiser, hopefully we have more money coming in. You want to do your best to keep the expenses low. $23,000 obviously is 23% of the $100,000. My fun category is about $9,000, which is 9%. My savings and investing is $68,000, which is 68%. So again, you take that number, remember, divided by the after-tax open to buy number. For example, $68,000 divided by $100,000 is 68%. All of that equals $100,000. Now again, I'm going to pause. What I want everybody to understand, and you might be thinking, what? How could I ever get to 68, nearly 70% savings rate? Well, you have to understand that this was a conscious effort on my part over 15 to 18 years. When I turned 40 years old back in 2006, I had this goal. So this is a goal that I have been working on consciously every single year. It just didn't happen. Most people don't make a bunch of money and have a great salary and have such low expenses. Most people fall prey to lifestyle creep. Their lifestyle goes up as they make more money. It just makes sense. That's what people do. But I did not want to be most people. I did not want to be broke at 55 and 58 or 59 where I am right now. I wanted to be brilliant, and I want you guys to be brilliant as well. And what it's going to take, of course, is making a little bit more money every year. Over 20 years. You can do it. Hunker down. Think about it. Every year, I need to make 3%, maybe 5%, maybe 6% more. Then another 5, 6, 7%, maybe 10% more. All the while, you are consciously keeping your expenses where they are. And yes, I know inflation is out there. It was running rampant, and it is today as well. But you've got to figure out ways to not let that be an excuse, right? To go back to the motivation we talked about on the last episode is think about yourself. Think about your future self. There are ways. You may need to get a second job. I had 2 jobs for like 10 years. I would go to a job from 9 to 5 and then work from 6 to 10. I did that for a decade. And all the while I knew I was saving money and I was making this shift so that I could be talking to you right now about my budget in 2024, which is nearly a 70% savings rate. Now, again, it won't happen for you right now, but look at your budgets. Figure out what percentages are you today. Are you lower than the ones we talked about on Monday? If so, then great. If you're above those numbers, if your life category is up, think about ways you can reduce that. Are you having too much fun? Can you think of ways to have fun that doesn't cost money? Yes, you can. So be honest with yourself and think about ways to do that. It is possible. And you know what? Nobody's really going to care whether you do this or not. Going on a journey towards financial independence is a very private journey. You know, you don't have to really tell everybody what you're doing. You can be anonymous. You can eventually knows I'm a millionaire because I have a 600 square foot condo, right? And I've kept my cars for decades. So I don't take flashy vacations, so nobody knows. Nobody knows. Nobody knows. Nobody knows. But you know. And you also know how you can get there yourself with a lot of dedication. Yes, a lot of income has to come your way. You have to keep making more money every year. More importantly, gotta keep those expenses down. Whether you get to $1 million or not is irrelevant. You can have financial freedom as long as your expenses are super low, which means your savings rate can go through the roof. So, moving on to the next part of this episode, remember I wanted to share with you my 2025 work in process budget. Yeah. I know I shared with y'all recently that I did make that decision to leave corporate America and concentrate on you guys 100%. This channel will be my focus. Whether I make a lot of money at it or not is irrelevant. I don't really care. I just enjoy doing it. If I can make $1,000 a year to offset a little bit of expenses, then so be it. But it's interesting when you think about going into early retirement, and I know for many of you this could be years into the future. That's okay. You will get there. You will get there. And you want to be brilliant, not broke. But it's funny, as I was thinking about and preparing for this episode, I had to think to myself, and I said, self, it's kind of interesting because the percents we spoke of earlier really are not relevant anymore. It's kind of like a non-issue because I don't have savings anymore, right? So I'm really backing into what I feel like I can pay myself. So you guys know I shared before, I think I'm going to give myself about $30,000 as a baseline number for the open to buy. Well, there's no pre and post tax in that situation, right? I mean, there is from where I pull the money from. And I shared with you that my financial advisor at Vanguard has suggested that I use my short-term reserves for for expenses, the cash I have, for the first 1 to 3 years, maybe more, before I even tap into the other money. Because remember, the $1.3 million I have is going to sit there for, let's say, 5 years and grow to about 1.6 or 1.7. How cool is that? Not having to use that money. That's that thought process I shared with you before. Remember, which was, what was it called? I forget. Coast fire. That's it. I'm going to coast for those 5 years and let the money grow. I'm going to use the short-term reserves. Now, my budget is about 90% complete, and I want to share that with you here today. I also want to say that this is the first time I ranked it in terms of importance, my line items. Normally I don't do that. Excuse me while I regroup here a little bit. I did rank them in importance, so let me go ahead and give you those numbers real quick. I have to go to my computer. Okay. So, I did a couple things. I ranked them in terms of importance, but I also came up with a new methodology that I never did before, which is I have some expenses that I need to filter into my checking account, right? Because think about it, if you no longer work and you don't have a salary coming in, some of your expenses and your money needs are monthly, some are yearly. So why would I pull money out of a money market getting about 3 or 4% and let it sit in my checking account earning zero virtually, only to pay that like 9 months later? So I broke these down into my condo association fees. I've got 4 monthlies: condo association, electric, healthcare premiums, hopefully with my set aside for if I have to pay that extra $8,000 because I'm bridging the gap from age 59 to 65. When what's it called? I'm drawing a blank. So no, not Social Security, but Medicare. Whew, my goodness. When Medicare kicks in. Okay, so condo association, electric, healthcare premiums, and believe it or not, I added a line item for LA Fitness, the gym. You guys know I'm gonna join a gym. That will be a priority. Fitness will be one of my number one priorities in the new year in retirement because I feel like a lug. I haven't been doing what I want to do, and although I still walk, and do a little bit of weights here and there, I just don't feel as good about my overall feng shui feeling and contentment and, relaxed state, etc. So I think joining the gym will really help with all of that. So I thought it was important enough to add as a line item and not put it into my fun bucket. So that means, my condo association would be about $7,200 a year, electric $720, healthcare premiums $2,000, the gym membership $540, almost $10,460 for the year. So monthly I'd put about $900 into my checking account. Yeah, because I need that for monthlies. Then I've got line items for food, gas, Fund 1, Fund 2, and Fund 3. Do you guys remember how I talked about that? Fund 1 is $40 a week. Many weeks I may just use the 40. Great. If I don't, then I can go to Fund 2. And I also have a reserve for Fund 3. That total dollar amount of Fund 1, 2, and 3 is $7,500. Okay, so we got our $10,000 or $11,000 up above for monthlies. We have food and gas is $5,400. So really, all of the expenses without fun is about $15,000, $16,000. Yeah, $16,000. Then add in fun, $7,500, right? So what is that? 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 23,000. Then I've got my yearlies. 23, 24, 5, 6, 7, 28. Yep. My yearlies are my condo association insurance. I pay that every year. I have two policies, a regular homeowners and a flood insurance. I've got property taxes I pay once a year because I don't have a mortgage. I paid in November. Car insurance in December. My cell phone through Visible in July. So what I'll do is I'll just put the money into the checking account to pay those. That again is about $4,500. So if you add all that up, you get to about $28,000. So that's under the $30,000. So I gave myself a little bit of room there. My numbers won't be finalized until I get to January 1 because what are the wild cards? I still don't know what my healthcare premiums will be. I don't know exactly what my LA Fitness will be. And I don't know what my condo associations will be either. I've got that at $600 a month. Who knows what will happen? Probably be that or more. So I have a little bit of money set aside, $2,000 in my operating budget to get to 28, or I'm sorry, it's a 28 now, but it'll probably be 30. If it's not, then great. So to think about closing this episode, I want to share something real significant here. And I wanted to share with you what I just did, which is the, first year of retirement numbers here for you, because I know many of you, this is in the future, but what is real significant about what I'm sharing with you right now is that as you get older and as you are saving more money and as your percentage of saving and investing goes up, you build the engine that then gives you the money to pay yourself. And by the way, these numbers don't include that engine. I'm not using money that's in the stock market. I'm using, remember, my short-term reserves for the first 5 years. Anyway, as you get older, you're increasing the savings and investing not only to build the engine to make it as large as it can be, but the secondary benefit is that when you get to my age, or maybe even earlier, and you start to consider stopping your job or quitting your work, right? Quitting your job, it gives you that flexibility, because now my budget is only 30 grand as opposed to where it was before, which is a lot more. Why? Because I had $68,000 going into savings and investing. That goes away. If most of my budget was expenses, how could I possibly quit my job? There's no wiggle room for anything other than what you have to pay for. So the secondary benefit, again, is that not only are you building your engine, but you're giving yourself the flexibility to have a lower operating budget, which means you can quit your job earlier. And let me leave you with this. The traditional advice that you may hear when people say, oh, you know, you're going to retire, what are your expenses going to be? And they say something like, well, most people need about 85% of their gross income that they had before. So, for example, if you were earning about $100,000, like where I am, I would have to have about $85,000 of income in retirement. No. Why? Why would I not need that? Because they're assuming that most of that money that that person is spending is in their expenses in their life category, which is not true for me. Right? And for you. In the future, most of your money you are saving and investing. Does that make sense? I hope so. So I'm going to leave you with that. That is the secondary benefit, is that that traditional advice of $85,000 need is not true. I only need $30,000. And I'll leave you with this. Once I take Social Security at age 62 in 3 years after retirement, my $20,000 to $25,000 of Social Security is going to pay a chunk of this 30 grand. That's also smart, right? You want to make sure that your Social Security, if you're going to have it,